and 314 for a shooting at Century Theaters. They're saying somebody's shooting in the auditorium.
Roger, keep your fire west of the smoke. You're cleared hot. An officer hit. Send me the world.
Don't go over that fence. Don't go over that fence. Grab the shotgun again.
Welcome to Tactical Tangents.
Hey, welcome back to Tactical Tangents. This is Mike and Jim, and we got a guest with us tonight. Before we get into that, though, I want to talk a little bit about our new sponsor, Mantis. Mantis X is a small little product that goes on the front of your pistol. You can mount it like a weapon-mounted light, and it gives you feedback every time you pull the trigger. It's measuring the milliseconds before and after you pull the trigger, detecting movement, and it will give you a score for each time you pull the trigger on how still that you're holding it. I use it particularly for dry fire. You can use it in live fire as well. It works really well for that, but dry fire is where I think the Mantis X makes its money. You can put it on your gun, work on your draw, work out of the holster, and it'll grade you on how quickly you can get out of the holster on target and pull the trigger and not move the gun when the gun goes off or when it would go off. I think is a great tool. You should go check it out, mantisx.com, MANTISX.com. It's one of those products that I think is worth its weight in gold. They cost about $150 or so. It's worth every penny. So go buy one, check them out, let them know that we sent you, mantisx.com. So let's get into Danimal. We're going to talk about where that name came from. You can call him Dan, though. And he is a mentor of mine. He was one of my team leaders early on SWAT, to include the first time when I didn't make it. I'll let him talk all the shit he wants about that. And now he's in charge of running the training for my agency. Not necessarily here to talk about work. I want to talk more about Dan as a mentor of mine. And the persona, if you guys just picture in your mind the stupid, dumb Marine who is also really fanatic about football. He's like the typical football coach that you would think. And so what I like about that, though, is looking back through my training through SWAT and getting on the team, there's that football coach mentality, and I think that has some leadership implications. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about. But we want to kind of keep it fun. We're sharing some drinks and keep it jovial. So, Danimal, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. This is pretty awesome. Kind of ties into a little bit of, my take a knee theory and my halftime speeches and so forth. You and I have a long history, goes back.
He's basically the Vince Lombardi or Michael Lombardi. We talked about this, right?
Pretty sure
Jim,
it's
didn't we
Vince,
just talk about this? Like,
pretty
one
sure
of
it's
them's
Vince
dead.
Lombardi. Oh my god.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I will tell you, my wife made fun of me for that. She heard the last episode.
She should
and she's
have.
like, really?
Yeah.
I don't know sports ball.
Yeah, Joe Lombardi is coaching the Saints. I believe it's his grandson. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, Danimal, how'd the name come to be? I don't think Jim has heard this story yet.
Well, interesting. I came on the team at a time where there was a lot of changeover. We went through the old ways into the new ways, and I'm kind of bleed over for both, and we did a lot of changes structurally and philosophically as far as what we were doing, but yet a lot of the old disciplines still remained, which was really important to me as a football coach. And moving forward, one night we did a takedown of a bank robbery suspect, and
so there we were.
Yeah, there we were, unbeknownst to me, Chief. We're sitting in the van getting ready to take down this bank robbery suspect, and he was seen by surveillance walking out of his hotel room, and assault team, which I was leading, was getting ready to move in and take him down. And I had this epiphany at that moment in my mind where I'm just going to linebacker tackle him right into the wall and just knock the shit out of him.
Leroy Jenkins.
If he had any kind of weapons or devices on him, he had robbed the bank by threatening, explosives, which was probably shit anyway. He didn't have anything, but I was going to knock the fucking soul right out of him. So we lined up in this blind spot along this hallway where he was walking. It was kind of perpendicular to him, and he came walking out. Surveillance called it, and they said that he should be getting right to you. And there was this jockeying of spots that usually occurs with the point guy. And the next senior in charge, and they're arguing over who's going to make the move.
Get to the front of the line.
Yeah, and I said, you know what, fuck you guys.
It's a little competitive.
I'm gonna take it, and
I got mine.
Looked at me like I was crazy because most of the team leaders were, in the back of the stack, guiding traffic and this and that. And I said, fuck that. I'm not about that. I'm excessive.
So Dan went, Leroy.
Yeah, I went fucking right to the front, bumped some people aside. They stood there in shock and awe, and I tackled this guy, and I linebacker hitted him right into we almost went into another fucking hotel room where people were, hanging out and whatever.
There was broken glass.
Yeah, I put him right through a window. And
Nice.
When he says he almost went into another hotel room, almost.
Yeah.
It actually fits here. Not like almost thought about it.
Just the tip.
Yeah, I actually had to let up the throttle because when I hit him, I was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna fucking kill this guy," and it just didn't meet the criteria. But anyway, long story short, it was pretty cool. In my mind, leadership is cemented in many different ways, and that one that cemented me with the team is they could count on me and to lead from the front kind of theory.
And so he was dubbed the Danimal.
You can talk and talk and talk, but until you show everybody else what you're doing and how you're going to do it, it doesn't matter. And that's, like you said, cemented into the team. So you mentioned football coach, and I'm going to get into the football coach thing, but it reminded me, I had a squadron commander a couple of years ago, generally positive regard for the guy, but he's a football coach kind of persona. And you know the type, like, jock football coach type guy. And what I found was,
yeah,
if you acted like one of his players, he'd treat you like one of his players. And if you didn't act like one of his players, he treated you like the cheerleaders. And I learned a lot about how to be on a team. and sometimes you have to shift gears and adapt yourself to your boss from that. So that's my football coach story. And you said take a knee is your thing. What does that mean?
There's moments as a football coach where you're running drills, you're doing things, and you have to stop everything, and you bring everyone in, and you have them take a knee, because that's just a standard in football etiquette, where when the coach is speaking.
So not during the national anthem.
Pretty
much.
Not when you that's the way it is. Showboating. And you bring the team in and you have them take a knee in front of you, and we and I always reserved it as, hey, either one, you're doing a great job, or two, let's unfuck ourselves because you look like a shit show, and let's get it right, because we can't continue being a train of destruction here, and let's fix this. And so that's kind of what take a knee means to me. Is it's I want to thank you for your efforts, or I want to unfuck you because you're just sideways right now.
Or suck less.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have actually a good coaching story about Dan. And this is one of those things that, like, we talk about what a good coach is. And there's a guy, so I read a book called The Talent Code, and it's on our reading list. I might have mentioned it on the show at some point, but there's a UCLA coach, Wooden.
Yeah.
Does that sound right? And one of the things he was famous for was the way he gave, like, feedback, coaching and feedback. He could do it in a real, like, concise way. It was real quick, to the point. He didn't have to spend a lot of time. It wasn't a lecture. It was just, bam, just real quick thing he could say to somebody to get in their head. And we do these drills in the SWAT school where, and for those not familiar, I kind of alluded to it. I had to go through SWAT school twice to get on the team. And this was in the second time, the time that I actually
It's like a Mike tradition is knocking things out a couple times.
I had part in both of them. So.
Yeah. So we were doing these drills, and we do these drills where they put a hood over your head, and then the hood comes up, and you're just in the middle of a scenario, and you just got to deal with it, right? And I don't remember what the scenario was, but I fucked it up. That's the long story short. And that's, the scenarios by design are set up so that you screw them up. That's how you learn, right? And And so Dan on the debrief, he was like, "That was a shit show. You owe me for that one." And then we went out and we set it up again. And it was as simple as that. Like, you owe me for that one. And it's like the difference between like you disappointed dad and like, you're going to be in trouble over some stupid, technicality or bureaucratic.
This is going
thing
in
or
your
whatever.
permanent record. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think that's a big part of it. And, there's a difference between, and Dan kind of alluded to this, but the difference between that positive motivating kind of, you could do this, versus that like more negative, like, hey, take your head out of your ass, getting that part right. So,
Yeah, the interesting thing with Mike in his first school
is that I suck.
And I
was a fatty.
Here's what I will say before I start into the story. Mike is one of two people that I'm super, super proud of in my career that I was able to influence in my own way to do some really good stuff with, public service. And we kind of, go back a little bit. Mike in his first school came in as this bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, I'm smarter than those fuckers kind of attitude. And I picked up on it right away.
We discussed this actually in the personality episode.
Yeah. One of the things that was interesting with Mike that, I was really good at, I could pick up character traits pretty quick. And I got the feeling right away, and a couple other people did, that Mike thought he was smarter than everyone else. And so I made it a mission that I was going to crush his soul into an oblivion because, as a coach, I knew what was right for the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew what was right for the team. And Mike plundered in that first school a little bit. And but what was cool about the whole thing was after that, there was a lot of events that occurred where Mike really buckled down and came back as a premier guy to be noticed as a decision maker, as someone that could do it. The one thing that I regret as a coach, I wish I would have done with him differently, was had a sidebar conversation with him and said, "Hey, dude, you fucked up here, but here's where you can excel." I just kind of threw him out and said, "You fucked up. You're off my team. Get off my grass.
Get off my island."
Yeah, I've got a football. I got a football team to run. Get the fuck out of here. And what I should have done was, "Hey, kid, I still think there's talent in you. Come back next season." So for me as a leader, I grew in that moment, and I learned that maybe they don't have it all right now, but you don't know what they'll have in the future. And obviously, Mike showed tremendous potential down the road, and I'm glad that everything worked out the way it did.
He says a lot of nice things, and those things probably lasted right up until I cut him off in a pursuit.
Oh, yeah.
And he spilled his beer.
Shit.
I mean, his cooler all over his radio.
So there I am.
Does he have a
with the
daughter? Because we
baddest
could really put a cherry on top, so to speak.
There we are with the most badass pursuit ever, right? And Mike cuts me off. Cuts me off in the pursuit.
Let's paint this picture for you. So this guy went into all right.
Start with
There's
stole a car with a baby.
Mom and a wife, mom and dad, and 18-month-old kid are in the car together. Mom goes inside one of these like storefront MVD, DMV, MVD places where you can do your registration, title, and all that. Mom's inside, dad's in the car with the kid. And she says, "Hey, I need the registration for the VIN." So the dad's like, okay, so he grabs it out of the glove box. He gets out of the car, goes to the door, like the front door of the business, to hand it to her. Not very far from his car. Well, some dirtbag gets in the car and takes off with it, presumably not realizing there's a kid inside. Just sees a car running. So, pro tip, don't do that. So now this guy takes off and he's out of his mind, and we're looking for the car. Well, someone picks up the car, and so they start chasing it because it's got this kid in it, right? And the guy ends up flipping the car gets out and runs. We there's like car seat and like baby stuff all over the road. The car's upside down. He took off into the neighborhood. The kid, we don't know where the kid's at. You know, we assume it got ejected or something. Goes into an occupied house, carjacks another car, and then takes off, right? So now we're pursuing this guy again in this car. Still don't know where the baby's at. And he drives through a school, like a middle school, right? Through the gate onto the school grounds and the playground. Like he's plowing through the school, right? And so at this point,
it was active. It was in session school.
Yeah, it was like, I think it was like 4 p.m. So it's like people were still there for like soccer practice.
So there's a technical term for this. It's like shit's going sideways, right? Like this is a sideways.
Yeah, he tried
day.
to ram some. Yeah. He tried to ram some of the officers trying to block him in. He's driving through a school now. I mean,
it was one of these like
he's
scenarios.
Some nuns that were walking down. I mean, just imagine. It couldn't get any worse.
Yeah, like it was one of these guys that like you have to stop this guy, like by any means necessary. So that's how bad this was, right? So yeah, somewhere in there, I think I stayed like in the left lane, and I was trying to take a corner, and Dan was on the inside coming up right next to me, and so I took this corner, and he was right there, and apparently he had to avoid me, and his shit went spilling everywhere. And
so in my back seat, I was a tactical sergeant deployed all over the city at that time during the daylight hours, and so in my car I kept ice cooler full of water for the troops if they needed it. And Mike cuts me off. That fucking shit flips and dumps everywhere, kills my radio, kills my computer, kills everything. I can't transmit.
He's not only the tactical like supervisor, he's also the pursuit supervisor. Like he's the guy that authorized this chase.
I rolled up in the middle of this shit when the car was flipped in the middle of the street. Baby shits everywhere, and the lieutenant of that division's like, "Dan, you got the pursuit, brother." I'm like, "All right, fuck it, sir." All right,
and now he's got no radio.
Yeah, here we go. And so anyway, long story short was we had a lot of complications, and I authorized lethal force. And I kind of joked earlier about it being mayhem and stuff, but it really was. Lessons learned on that thing for the leadership side of it was I was really pissed at Mike for cutting me off, and how I handled that. Probably wasn't the best. I didn't really scorch him or anything at the scene.
I think I earned it. Yeah. It's all good.
But it's funny how our relationship over the years has kind of taken all these twists and turns. But that was the one that was monumentous in my career for a lot of different reasons. But
so I'm going to nerd out on that real quick. Securing loose cargo is a thing on airplanes and cars, and
I know. Fuck Jim.
And fuck Mike. But like, but the famous FBI.
This
Miami
is how Jim has my back.
Yeah.
He's going to make sure that we point out the flaws
but
here.
That's funny because the FBI afterwards I seatbelted that shit in every day.
The FBI Miami shootout. They had their guns back in the day. I guess I wasn't alive. The FBI guys would put their guns like on their passenger seat as they were driving, and then they'd get in the chase and they'd stop the car, and the gun would go flying down into the floorboards. Right, but that real thing that really happened, and loose cargo. We've had an AC-130 gunship in a test, ended up upside down on accident. And there was a loose checklist in the cockpit, and it knocked the pilot across the head while they're upside down and in a spin, and the co-pilot had to take the controls and get it upright. So one of my big things about tactical stuff is sometimes it's the stupid little administrative stuff that'll get you in trouble, like just loose stuff. And so I'm not calling you out, not like that, but something to think about is what is loose in your car on any given day, or what's loose in your aircraft on any given day. So,
yeah, 100%, Jim. I own that shit. Even though Mike cut me off, and I'd like to blame him.
And it is him.
Until the day I
die. As you should. Yeah,
I own that. It was a fucking ice bath from hell, dude.
But I got ahead of him in the pursuit. So.
Then he cut me off in the pursuit. Yes. Good times.
Yeah. So, yeah, decisions are stressful sometimes. Shit happens. But, I go back to the coaching thing, and first of all, did you know that Jim is a huge Dallas Cowboys fan?
Oh God,
Is that a good story? Is this a good story?
Yeah,
like
let's
time
go
for
with
that?
this.
Okay,
Let's roll with this.
It's time that I tell everyone and make some confessions here. I am an indoor kid. If it's not obvious, big nerd, not a sports guy. Never could get into sports. It's just not who I am. And I went to a military school that doesn't have much of a sports team, so there was that. And I'm in eastern New Mexico at the bank, and cute teller lady at the bank is like, "Hey, we'll get you a discount on your credit card and debit card and stuff. You get a logo on your card." And I'm like, "Okay, fine, whatever." And I open up the catalog, and the options, I swear to God, were Hello Kitty and the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm like, well, screw it. Dallas Cowboys, fine. I've heard of that team before. I'm sure it's fine, whatever. And it turns out, everywhere I go in the world, Turkey, Iraq, Afghanistan, England, Texas, someone has something to say about that card. And they're either like, "Dude, Romo, we're going to have a great year." And they try to like chest bump me. And I'm like, "What's a Romo?" Or they're sliding the food over and they're like, "I might have spit in your food." And it's like one or the other, and that's my Cowboys story. So go Cowboys! We're gonna have a great year.
Well, it's funny, dude, because I'm a Steelers, diehard. I grew up, and my choices were, Cleveland or Pittsburgh Steelers, because I was right on the Pennsylvania-Ohio line. Yeah. So, obviously, I'm going to choose the Steelers.
You're going to pick a winning team.
Yeah,
I hope they have a great goalie
I don't know
this
much
year.
about football.
Yeah.
I'm really bad at sports ball and who scores more goals than the other person or whatever, more baskets. I don't know, but like, if there's one thing that I know is that it's always going to be the Browns' year.
Yeah,
because it never is.
Yeah,
so it's going
right.
to be.
Well, and when you boil this down, anybody that knows me is like, "Oh yeah, he's a perfect Steelers fan, just a fucking asshole, just straight, down your throat kind of guy." And that's the
So to
Steelers.
speak.
So yeah, very well played.
So I think I go to the football thing, and I describe Dan as what you would think of as a football coach, and most of your coaching is your son, right?
Yeah, I've been involved in football for quite a while, and a lot of the coaching stuff started with my son, and really started from scratch. I'll tell you honestly, it came from one day we showed up, and he was 6 years old, and we're playing flag football in a little neighborhood kind of organization up here, and the coach didn't show one day. And honest to God, me and another dad were looking at each other, and we're like, "All right, what do we do?" And I just kind of fell back on my experiences, and
Danimal ran to the front of the line. Is what happened.
Busted out his
stepped
whistle.
up and said, "All right,
Burpees, let's go."
Yeah. Let's do this.
Burpees, get
All right,
there.
Listen, you little bastards. Here we go. And
Unfuck yourselves.
I tell you what, man, and I still to this day, I love coaching football. I love coaching kids. I love teaching. I love being out in front of a group of people. And I'll tell you what I love most is I love seeing where they are, where they can be, and where they end up.
Yep.
It's just a phenomenal experience as a leader. So, and I would chalk myself up more as a coach than I would as a leader. So anyway, yeah, the kids didn't have a coach. Me and this other dad, we stepped up and we got them through the season. And the next year, in between there, I was like, "Man, this sucks." I mean, we had an okay season last year, but, I see these kids and I think we can do so much better. And I paired up with this other guy, and we ended up going to the B bracket Super Bowl. I was like, "Man, that sucks. We can do so much better." And the next year after
I don't know what that means. I know what Super Bowl is.
Basically, we're in the
Like, this is a great story, Dan. Yeah,
Yeah,
gosh.
all the
Oh, not the
losers.
B bracket.
Yeah, B bracket. We're in the fucking loser bracket, if you will. We weren't good enough to be in the A bracket. So out of 16 teams, we're the bottom 8, and we're playing in the Super Bowl, and we won. And we won on my son's pick and safety in the end zone.
Nice.
So his son is, last I remember, about 9 years old and about 6'7". if my math is right.
He's 15 and he's 6'3".
Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah, I'm like 5'3", and I don't know where the fuck. And he's Chinese on top of that, so I don't know where he gets that height. But
From Sancho.
he's a great kid. Great, yeah, right.
That's probably where he got his athletic ability too, Dan.
Great kid, athletic, and just a good student too. So
there's some. It sounds stupid, and anyone that knows me well will be the first to tell you that I am not good at sportsing. I can't throw for shit. I can't catch for shit. I can shoot. That I can do. But all the other stuff, all the sports ball stuff, not so much. And make all the dad jokes you want. No, I didn't have a lot of fathering when I grew up, so go fuck yourselves. But but in reality, one of the things that I actually really like about football, and I couldn't tell you about the Browns or the Steelers or your mom or or whatever, but
The Lakers.
But I do like watching football for
the Lakers. They're one of them, right?
yeah, the Lakers. We're gonna have a good year or something.
yeah, good year, something.
Go Cowboys.
Yeah, but I do like watching football because there's a lot of strategy involved, and there's a lot of decision making involved, and teamwork. It's one of those things that it's palpable. You can watch it, you can see it, and there's a couple things that come to mind, and I'll let Dan talk on this, but again, I don't know a lot about a lot of teams, but one of the things that was pointed out to me by somebody about Oregon's football team is that they did this like no huddle thing. All right? Like part of their approach was, hey, we're just going to hit them with just play after play after play after play. We're not going to give them any breaks. We're going to wear them out. We're going to cloud their decision making, cause a lot of fog and friction, and distort their sense of reality. Is kind of the sense I got. That's like a strategy, right? That's a common thing.
Yeah. So probably the person that it really dials back to is Chip Kelly. And Chip Kelly's been all over the place in the pros and in college and so forth. Chip Kelly really kind of was one of the ones at the forefront of, that 2-minute offense, that really fast pace, call 2-3 plays and go. And it really works. I attribute it to, in the operational world, of operational momentum, diversion, so forth. So Chip Kelly would tell his quarterback, run these 3 plays, we're in this situation. And really, coaching football comes down to managing the clock, and I would say the same about tactics. Manage the clock. If you manage the clock with certain tactics and skills, you can win the game. Absolutely, 100%. And Chip Kelly really hasn't gotten the justice that he deserves because he just hasn't had that big success as some coaches have, like Bill Belichick and so forth. But
totally, Bill Belichick, yeah,
you're right,
great guy.
So for you,
I got nothing.
So it correlates to Bill had his own forte in football, but so Chip Kelly, what he did was he called 3 plays to his quarterback. He said, run these 3 plays in this situation. So they would get to the line, and they would throw X, Y, and Z play in. Boom, it would go. It would get whatever it would get, and they would run the next play and so on and so forth. They controlled the clock. They controlled the momentum. And what it did was it wore down a defense to where they couldn't get set fast enough to predict the next play.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't the first play that they were defending. It was the second and third play that they were trying to defend that would wear down. And it was beautiful. And it works really, really well. And if you're smart and you know your team and you know your scheme and you know your clock and you know your opponent's team, it works really well. And so, yeah, control the clock, control that defense, operational momentum. But at some point, you're going to have to dial it back, and you're going to have to let your own offense kind of catch their wits about them. So you got to be smart as a coach that you don't rev the throttle so hard that it works against you and you throw an interception at the wrong time. That's kind of that Chip Kelly offense.
So speaking of tactics and football stuff, I read an academic paper once about how the Air Force Academy football team uses the option play as an OODA loop thing, right? And so for those unfamiliar, option, and correct me when I fuck this up because I will, quarterback on any given play has the option when he gets the ball, can throw it, can run it, or can pass it off to somebody, right? And because he's got the option, literally the option, the defense has to figure out what he's going to do and then react to it. And so you're delaying their reaction until the last possible second. So again, that taking advantage of time and forcing them to react. The problem with that is that it relies on having a very, very talented, versatile quarterback who can do all those things at his option. And if you don't have a very talented quarterback, you get up the middle punt. And I saw that for a year or two while I was there. But I just think it's a good example of you really can't see OODA loop stuff in sports, and you can also see how that could apply in fighting, right?
Yeah, so the RPO, read pass option, beautiful play. You hold on to the ball as long as you can as the running back's coming up to grab it, and then you release it and throw it, you release it and run it, or you hand it off depending on what the linebacker and defensive ends do and so forth. Beautiful play. You got to have a talented, very smart quarterback / what we would call in the operators world, point man, team leader kind of position. And you also have to have some very talented receivers, very talented running backs, which would be your second layer guys.
Right, because you can't necessarily dictate which one's going to end up with it, right?
Right.
So they don't know what's coming either.
Yeah, your running back has to know I'm going to pull that ball out because the linebacker isn't coming down on me and I'm going to run. Versus the linebacker's coming down on me, I'm not going to pull the ball, let the quarterback have it. So you got to remember, two guys are literally fighting over this ball at the last second. And so it comes down to a few people being very aware. Your first layer, your second layer, you have receivers, tight ends, and so forth running out very short plays, ready to turn around and take a pass at their positions. So there is some talent in there, Jim. A lot of talent that has to be ready to do that. You can't do that with a team that's in that first or second year development. RPO, I think, is a very particular play. I've run that. I ran that as a coach early on, and it didn't work so well. And there's an RPO play that I ran later on that actually got us into the playoffs and into the second layer of the playoffs because of that play.
So 2 questions on that. First is, how do you develop that? That you said he's got to be a talented decision maker, essentially. Yeah. One is, how do you develop that in a football player? In a football player that's 15. And 2, what is the proportion that you spend on that one guy that's kind of the linchpin, the quarterback, versus the rest of the team? And for context, there's this guy named Randy Pausch. He was a professor, Disney guy. And
the last lecture, he's famous for the last lecture.
Yeah, he had a talk that he gave called The Last Lecture. I don't know if you're familiar. We'll link to it. But and he talked about football and coaching, and one of the things that he said was he went to one of his best coaches or whatever. He went to practice and there weren't any footballs, and he's like, they're like, I don't understand. There's no footballs, and he's like, right. How many people on the field are holding the football at any given time? One guy. So we're going to work on all the other things. So how do you develop that decision making in your one guy? And 2, what is how do you balance developing that guy versus developing the rest of the team? What's the proportion there, or is there one?
So the year that we won that, based off that play, we actually won the second layer playoffs, and it sent us into the Super Bowl for that little, neighborhood league. The kids were 11 at that time, 10 or 11, I think. What was interesting was I was able to read the character traits of everyone involved, and there were 3 kids on the team. And, obviously the quarterback had to be dialed in pretty hardcore. but I also had one receiver. I had one receiver that wasn't just talent, he was smart. And I would put him in positions where I would see if could you think, or were you just was it just athletics? Was it just you went when you went? And there were a couple times where I noticed right away this kid can think. And so I married the two up, and I put them in positions. So then what I did was I took that one play and I built three that looked like it. And so I disguised the other two plays throughout the game to look like that play. And I held on to that last play until the moment I needed it. And I used a lot of deception, and I disguised that play. I used that two plays over and over and over again throughout the game. And I think I ran that play 12 times the way it was designed. And then the 13th time I ran it, for just such an odd number, I ran it the way it was designed to slip him out, and he was gone for a touchdown. And that's how we won that game. But I sat back and watched game film. I watched those two players. I knew what the other kids can do. Now, mind you, I also had another kid that was really, 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 really fast. This kid was sick fast. He couldn't catch a ball to save his ass, but he was sick, and he would catch a ball.
I'd say that's like me, but I'm not fast.
He would catch a ball every now and again, so he was enough that you kind of had to watch him, but kind of not lose track of him too. So, and I had this kid burn a trail, and I would throw him this long ball every now and again. I think we did it like 3 times in the game where I threw him this ridiculous long go route, and it kept the defense open just enough that when I wanted to run this other one on the other side of the field, it opened it up for us to score and right at the right moment. I savored that thing like a goddamn steak you're cooking on the stove.
So all I could think about is the scene from Ace Ventura when he's like, Finkel! And he's got the tutu on in the courtyard. He's acting like a crazy guy to try to get into the... You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And he's running around in the tutu, and he's like, blue for it too! And he's,
yeah.
No, is that just me?
It actually sounds a lot like Necessary Roughness, which is a classic.
Yeah. There you go.
Holy cow, he caught something. Yeah.
It sounds really ridiculous. They were all 10 and 11-year-old kids.
Yeah.
And it sounds crazy that some dad was plotting this shit, off
Dan's over here bullying little kids on their football.
But did you win?
But you won. Yeah. Well, here's what's interesting about this. So the team that we beat that year was they were unbeaten. They had ruled and dominated that league for 5 or 6 years, unbeaten, and we were the only team to ever walk on. They had beaten us earlier in the year. They were 8-0. We were 7-1 kind of thing.
Those are wins and losses,
Yeah.
guys. See, I know that. See?
We walked on. And what was interesting about this was I had a conversation with the kids prior to playoffs, and I sat down with them, and I said, "What do you guys want to do?" And they all kind of looked up at me, and they're all young kids, and they're half between picking boogers and picking flowers on the field, and
Like most cops.
yeah, most cops. So sometimes, true. And I said, "Hey, what do you guys want to do?" And they're like, "What do you mean, Coach?"
Mostly play football.
They looked up to me, and I think they looked up to me in a real positive way, and they said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Hey, this comes down to you guys. This is going to be your memory. What do you want to do?" They're like, "We want to beat that fucking team." And I'm like, "So do I." So I kind of played into it a little bit. I was like, "Well, I'm here with you. You set the tone. I let them drive the machine." It was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome to see. And I'll tell you what, man, of all the things I've ever coached in my life, that one moment that night when we won that Super Bowl on a team that had never been beaten, and to this day, his son just broke records at Marana High School. So, to beat that team, in some bullshit family league flag football with some kids that, weren't as talented per se or weren't expected to win. It was pretty awesome. And it came down to me asking them, what do you want to do?
What's the difference between coaching them and dealing with cops?
Not a lot. And I don't mean that in a nasty way at all. I mean,
It's the booger flicking thing, I think.
Is this. I think when you boil this down, your Air Force pilot, your Marine infantry guy, your 11-year-old on the football field wants one thing. They want someone to give a shit about them and to have trust in them and just pull and extract the best out of them. And I think when it doesn't matter what you are, if you're a 42-year-old, colonel, Air Force pilot, overseas pounding Syria, or if you're, 18-year-old Marine or 12-year-old kid on the football field, the bottom line is this. The person that's leading me has to believe in me and has to see something in me. You and I, Mike, go back. And it's interesting because, we've had lots of conversations, and you have to see something in someone to extract the best out of them. And I think that's what wins wars, wins football games, the whole thing.
Yeah, in the sense of that analogy, I think that one of the big takeaways is that everyone's got something to bring to the table.
Yeah.
And this is something, like, I even think back to guys I was in the academy with or whatever, and I'm like, this guy's not going to be a cop, like, give me a break. But, they might make a great detective, and do we need that guy kicking indoors? I mean, we definitely don't want him kicking indoors, but he might be great for that, And so, like, guys on a football team, sometimes you just need the dumb jock to stand there and block people,
Yeah, we all have our parts. An interesting thing lately has occurred for me. The very, it's contrast. We're doing this training with sergeants, and some of the sergeants, they're not so happy about doing this confidence course, this obstacle course. And some, I had a text last night. Hey, dude, I don't know what your goal of this training was, but it was really good. I had a good time. I love talking shit and having fun with my peers. And I enjoyed it. And by the way, I'm 80 pounds overweight, and I've lost 31 pounds. And I'm working on losing more because I don't want to be that guy. So to get that text last night at 2200 was pretty powerful
to
me. Because I get a lot of negative throughout my career where it's like, hey, fuck this training. You guys are, bullshit. You're making me actually be accountable for my job. You're making me be a leader. And so this guy was like, hey, I'm really digging it. Thank you. I appreciate it. So, yeah, I think coaching, when you boil it down, you extract the best out of people even when they don't want to give their best. Even for me. Here's an interesting point. The other day, I had a sergeant walk in the other day and look at me and say, hey, Dan, what's up with those boots? Dude, you look like a fucking dumpster fire. And, I had been doing a lot of shit, and I've been really busy, and quite frankly, my give a fuck factor had been really, had been diminished. And dude called me out. Dude called me out, and it was a sergeant I respect. It was a former SWAT guy, and as we know, SWAT guys tell it like it is. And I gave him, this excuse and that excuse, and
see what had happened was,
look at your fucking boots. And I said, you're right, dude. Now I literally left that conversation, walked into my locker room, and shined my boots like I should have done the fucking day before.
All defeated.
Yeah, all defeated, and he was 100% right. So leadership comes at the strangest times, I think.
That's true.
And coaching comes at the strangest times.
We did an episode about just leadership in general. We talked about that very thing. Like, yeah, you can write a policy, thou shalt have your shoes shined, and I'm sure there is one somewhere. But that will never be as powerful as somebody you respect calling you out. Period.
Yeah, 100%, Jim. Yeah, that dude, here I am talking this big game about fucking mentorship and leadership. Yeah. And you have to know that at this time we're doing a lot of training on mentorship, and dude called me out straight point blank, and God bless him. He's been on a long time, and it made me reflect about what I am, and who I am, and what I'm doing, and 100%.
Yeah, I have a thing about mentorship. In the military, we take mentorship, of course, very seriously. So seriously, in fact, that we have created a policy on mentorship. So there's an Air Force instruction on mentorship that I had to write essays about and study and take tests on. And there's a program, and you have to be assigned a mentoree or a mentee, whatever the hell they're called. And it turns out nobody does that. 0 people do it formally, because the whole point of mentorship is it's supposed to be informal and works. Having a relationship.
Not how any of this works.
And the problem we get into is you get a mentor-mentoree relationship, especially when you cross genders, and you get fraternization and weird lines crossing and stuff like that. And we never used to have that problem back in the day, but now it is a thing, and you do see it, and not always across genders, and it's tricky. And can you speak to just kind of the relationship side of being a mentor, especially like a father figure mentor or anything like that?
Yeah, so pretty interesting, because when I was on SWAT, we didn't have any females. It was all male dominant. It was pretty guy's guy kind of thing. And then along comes this one female, and pretty interesting experience I had with this. And she was stuck on one aspect of the obstacle course, and it was a big chain link fence, and it really got in her head. So I worked with her, and I said, hey, fuck that fence. You know what I mean? I basically told her, shit her, get off the pot, fuck that fence. I told her some stuff that everyone else had been caressing, and she did it. And truly, to this day, one of the biggest accomplishments I've had as a coach, other than my son, has been her and her career and what she's done. And she's gone on to be a phenomenal SWAT operator and canine operator and so forth, and just sky's the limit with her.
Yeah, so. I know exactly who you're talking about, and a close friend of mine. And it's funny, we go back to bring it in, take a knee, right? Yeah. Like, hey guys, here's the thing, Yeah. And that like quick, concise, like this is a little thing, and I told you what Dan said to me, like, hey, you owe me for this one, and in this case it was, fuck that fence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just kick that fence's ass.
She was stuck.
Yeah.
I actually remember this very clear. It was just her and I told everyone, get the fuck out of here. There was a whole bunch of people, and they were cheering her on, and they were oorah, oorah, and I was like, get the fuck out of here, everyone. And I looked her in the face, and I gave her some of that honest appeal, and I said, get over that goddamn fence. Fuck that fence.
Yep.
And she went up that fence, and I think she never looked back.
Yeah.
From that day forward to today, to what I believe is current times, 4 or 5 years later, she's never looked back.
Yeah.
When she was stuck, she couldn't get over that fence, and so yeah, I think this situation, where the females are, and there's a few females, for me personally, as in service trainer, there's a couple that I'm mentoring right now, where it's funny because one of them is got selected for general instructor school, and she wants to be a PT instructor and so forth.
General instructor school in Arizona, to be a teacher of any form as a cop, like to teach other cops, you've got to go through like a general instructor program just to be qualified to teach. And then, from there you can go into different specialties like firearms, defensive tactics, physical training, things like that. So driving, whatever. Yeah, that's like that's one of the prerequisites.
So she was identified in in any way. I got accused of maybe taking a personal interest or whatever, you know, kind of she, you know, and I don't know where that came from, but anyhow, what it boils down to is just, you know, cops being cops. The truth is she's a hard worker. She works super hard. She's involved with training. She's looking to better herself in her career. And, you know, any cop, male or female, we're going to stick ourselves out there and push a little bit harder to get those goals. And I think her and there's a couple others that are they're ready for that next level. And as a coach, you have to be able to identify, and I don't think it's gender based, what that person's ready for.
Yeah, and I think that's huge. Is what sometimes to the trainees looks like favoritism. Like, well, how come he picked her to mentor, or how come he picked Mike to mentor? It's not necessarily because they like each other or they're bros or they're into each other, whatever. Sometimes you see something that your team needs or that your agency needs or that person needs that you happen to be able to give them. But when you're the one who didn't get picked, it sucks. And and I've seen that. I've been on both sides of that. And I've been the mentor picking people like, okay, I'm going to put my energy into that person because I know I can get something out of them. But sometimes you have to explain it, is what I've found. And even once you explain it, sometimes they don't get it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Jim, sometimes I'm like, well, you know what? Fuck you.
Yep.
You don't deserve it. In the case of the female officer, man, I saw stuff in her in the SWAT school that was phenomenal. Yeah. And in fact, when just on the psyche side of training, when we were grinding the group down and we're trying to the folks that know what I'm talking about, when you're grinding a group of folks down and you're trying to see what they're really made of, and are they really their heart in this, man, she just stepped up a level. Mike in his second school stepped up the next level. Like, I was so proud of Mike in the second school where it was like, yeah, this dude, you took a shot at him, you punched him in the mouth. He went over, he shook it off, he wiped the blood off, he came back, he said, all right, bitch, I'm not done yet. And, you know, there's a certain amount of respect that you have to give to those kind of folks where...
Why won't you die?
Yeah, exactly. Where you're like, wow, man, shit. Okay, let me throw something else at that cat. And, you know, then they counter that and so on and so forth. So... And there's a point as a coach or as a leader where you learn you can throw all the shit you want at this person. It doesn't matter. Eventually, you will break them. Yeah. If you really want to, you will break them. But that's not the point. Yeah. The point is the human nature side of what they're doing. They really want to be here, and they really want to learn, and they're going to do well, and you give them that opportunity to do well. I saw things in him, and I saw things in the female officer, and some in the future that I hope that I can, you know, kind of lay that foundation where they're going to be good public servants, probably the best public servants that we have out there.
Huge. Yeah. So you talked about how you have a bunch of, people that kind of come out and they send you these messages and they're appreciative of the training or whatever. And I'm sure there's probably football the same way. You have these kids that are all about it. Like, they're going places, they're, thanks coach, they're excited about winning or whatever. But what about the haters and the people with shit attitudes?
Oh, so wow, dude, 2018. Fuck me. Interesting year. As a coach, what's awesome about this, and even as a in-service training coordinator, it's my field. It's not my field, but it's my field. And
it's not my field, but it's my ball, and I'm going to take it and go home.
It's kind of cool. A lot of people right now cultural shock is a big thing. When you're telling people, hey, the way we used to do it or the way you think you should do it is not the best way to do it. Here's another way. That's a big shock. In military law enforcement, it's huge shock. It shocks the ego. If you can tell people I care about you and you have to trust me, that's half the battle. And that's been very positive. For the haters, there are. This is what I've concluded in coaching and in law enforcement, all in one. There are 3 groups of people. There are your Mikes, your Aarons at the top. There are your mid-level people.
Take that for what it's worth, guys.
Mid-level people that are just here, maybe not sure where they fit. And there are your people that, fuck this place. This is stupid. I hate this place. I don't really care. Let's start with them first. And it's interesting because my feeling has always been kick them off your field instantly. The minute you notice who they are, get them out of your unit. Kick them off your field. I went to some recent training that was by a very prestigious university, and the guy has trained all over the world. In fact, he's in Afghanistan training tribal leadership and so on and so forth. And he said the same thing. He broke it down into 5s. I broke it down into 3s. And basically he said, whoever your 5s are, or your 3s in my case, don't even waste any time on them. Get them out of there. They'll never be, and they'll always poison your well. So get rid of them. Your mid-level folks are going to take most of your time, where you're going to have to caress them, massage them. You're going to have to put some energy into them. You're going to have to be there for them and develop them. Your top-level folks, you just kind of keep them in the box. They're going to hit some training lows, and you got to pick them up when they're down. But most of the time, they're going to be the ones to kind of set your bar high. And those are the groups of 3 that I like to kind of in there. And your haters are in that bottom 3. The suckers. This is stupid. And what it really amounts to is this: I'm fat and out of shape. I'm lazy, or I'm incompetent. That's it. Chalk it up for. I mean, I bet you if Jim measured it out in the military world, I haven't been in the military in 25 years, but if it was still the same, it would look like similar. Where
you're an infantryman in the Marine Corps, and he's an Air Force pilot. So,
yeah, well,
take that for what it's worth.
To be honest with you, military's military. I'll be kind of straight with you. Dudes find ways to scam.
Scurvin sons of bitches.
Yeah, and so anyway, that's kind of what I chalk it up to. Get your 3s out of there as fast as you can. I'm hated for it, but I pull no punches. If I think you're a 3, get the fuck off my field. I don't want anything to do with you. If you're a 2, I'll love you till the end as long as you keep working with me. If you're a 1, I'm going to use you. You're going to be my guy. You're going to be my gal. Get used to it. If that's too much for you, find another place to go, but you're at another level.
Right.
And so that's kind of coaching for me, and in that aspect. Haters, it's been challenging, but you got to kind of twist that shit on them, and you got to kind of make the masses hate them. Not you hate them and them hate you, but the masses hate them. No, you know what? Sarge is right. You're a fucking piece of shit. In a nutshell.
Yep.
So if you can find ways to do that, and sometimes it's there. You just got to bring it up. That's the world according to Danimal.
Raw. So Mike told me you train not beginner cops, but like 5-year in, 10-year in kind of cops. Is that true?
Yeah. Once you complete the academy, you turn over to me, and then it's a glorious experience from that point on. I say that kind of funny because I love the 2- and 3-year cops. They're still full of piss and vinegar and they're ready to learn. But after that, man.
So you go through after the academy. Yeah. You go through field training. Right, and you're assigned to whatever division you're in, and you have a supervisor in your squad while you're in training, but you also have a supervisor that's kind of coordinating the training. But once you're a solo officer, all of your continuing education or continuing training, which you have to do so many hours a year of, is overseen by Dan and his staff.
At what point
so he
do
does
they
all
hit
of
the threshold of they know everything already?
It's interesting because when you look at this, there's a couple of variables. One, when a cop's been out there on his own for about a year.
10 minutes.
Yeah, a year / 10 minutes. He or she thinks they know everything.
SWAT School 1, right?
Yeah. And so you it's funny because I go around to all the divisions, and I'm doing one right now. 3 or 4 times a year, we go out and we teach these modules, which has been Mike and mine's little baby, if you will.
Yeah, and let's hold up there. That what you have to know, and I probe Dan on like the dealing with haters thing because, and granted, this is all his program, and I a couple years ago, Dan took over that position. And I was getting really frustrated with a lot of PowerPoint classes that we were having to sit through that lasted entire days. And there was really no proficiency training. There's no, we weren't shooting, we weren't making decisions, we weren't doing any of this stuff. And I was getting frustrated. There was a couple other factors involved, but and so Dan is running all the training, and he just gets down there at the academy to run this. And right around then the academy was talking about this new training thing that was going to come out. And somewhere in there they were like, "Hey, do you want to help with this training?" And I'm like, "Not really." And Dan's like, "Well, what do you propose?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm glad you asked." And so, I try to help where I can and teach where I can and we go back to the attitudes thing, and Dan talked about the 3 types of people that he deals with, and I try to be part of the solution, not part of the problem, right? And so like I gave my input where I could or whatever, but much prior to that, we didn't really do anything. And I think most people in our agency would agree that most of our training, quote unquote, that we did was stupid check boxes. We checked boxes, and we went out there for a day at a time to sit through some class that the department could write itself off on liability, something or other. And that was it. We didn't actually do any police shit when we went out there. And so Dan has effectively changed that and stepped up our training game quite a bit. And so there's people that, haters are going to hate, right? People that have to work are going to complain about that, but we do a lot more than we used to, and it's a lot better than it used to be. And pretty much anyone you talk to will attest to that. So when Dan goes in and he starts talking about the stuff that he's doing, keep that in perspective. That's all. A lot of it is stuff that we never got before. So anyway, that's my rant on what we do for training, advanced training.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting journey to the point where I'm writing a book about it. And Mike's actually got a chapter or 2 involved in it.
Oh boy.
I'm extremely grateful, bouncing ideas off of Mike. And the module training came from an idea of this distributed training where you go out to units and you train, X amount of time, 30 minutes, 1 hour, whatever, on said topic. It's overlapping, it's trickle effect, novel idea, right? Yeah. All your ODA, all your, spec op guys, this is what they do. They go out and they train this constant evolution of nonstop, subject matter that, for us as an agency, it was brand new and it was a shock factor. So I went to Mike and I said, "Hey, what do you think, man?" And he actually came to me with some ideas, and we came up with some stuff for the practical application, and it worked really well. It was a shock factor. Some folks were like, whoa, what do you mean I got to make decisions right here, right now on this traffic stop?
A lot of shoot, no shoot.
Yeah, shoot, no shoot.
Life scenarios is my understanding, right?
Yeah, a lot of decision-making scenarios, and even down to scenarios of how do I treat this citizen who needs help? I'm broke down on the side of the road and I need help getting home. They weren't necessarily kill or be killed kind of situations. They were just everyday police situations. So you go to that scenario, and then the next one you would go is someone stepping out of the car trying to shoot you, and the next scenario you would go to was a shoplifting call, and lo and behold, we created this day of police work. I know, novel idea, right? And we had a little resistance, and it evolved, and this year we've had a little less resistance, and so on and so forth, and it's grown really, really well, and people have accepted it well. And I will tell you this: look at training from this aspect. If you have a group of people that think it's okay to show up in boxer shorts and house slippers and late and leave early to training, and that's their standard, and then a year later they're in uniform, training the whole day, getting a lot of reps in, getting pushed and challenged, and getting good coaching and feedback, and told, hey bro, you're not as fucking cool as you think you are, and that sheepdog shirt you wear may not be earned. Maybe you need to step your shit up and work a little harder. And I'm the dude to tell you that. And, and I say that kind of boisterous, but the fact is this: we needed somebody to look someone in the face and go, yeah, you want to be a sheepdog until it's time to do sheepdog shit. Yep. Okay. Quote of the night. All right, bro.
Fuck that fence.
Fuck you and your sheepdog shirt. No, I'm kidding. But I do love all our cops. I work super hard for them, but
sometimes you need that. You need to hear that, and sometimes people get wrapped up in their own bullshit. And I've seen that my entire career. Is guys get wrapped up into their persona and their tattoos and their bumper stickers, and they lose sight of, at the end of the day, you have to be able to perform. And when someone's punching your face in, you got to be able to punch them right back. And you don't get that from PowerPoint. You don't get that. It's too easy to fluff yourself, is what I'll call it. Right.
Oh, I just got a perfect question for you two. So one of the things that kind of threw Dan, and I know Dan has fought for, is good training, and constantly trying to advocate for that, because sometimes you have to fight and argue for it. Jim just went through one of Craig Douglas's classes.
Yeah, I still have the welts from The Sims in my
you still can't fucking sit right.
But we talked about that, and one of the things that we talked about was trying to get Craig out to the academy. So I go back to Dan and I say, pretty please bring Craig to training. Throw him under that bus.
If I had a goal of 2019, it's to get Craig Douglas out. And you got to let me throw down a couple bricks in this foundation right now. We're doing counter choke techniques, if you will, defending against the rear naked choke, the guillotine, and so on and so forth. And I'm kind of a quasi brand new jiu-jitsu guy. I've gotten fucked up, choked out more than I've done anything good in there.
I understand
that
Speaking
feeling.
of, as of recently, yesterday, I take my two squad guys. I say, hey, what are you guys doing at lunch? And they're like, yeah, we're dicking off. And I'm like, no, you're not. We're going in the mat room and we're going to choke a bitch. And so we go in there, and I'm the bitch getting choked, right? So
that's good training.
100% true. I called them out. They fucking choked me out.
To Dan's credit, he determined that our department needed better defensive tactics. And defensive tactics is like the law enforcement catch-all for arrest and control tactics. And so traditionally, we had always kind of piggybacked off of the guy that ran that for like basic training. Dan got a guy added to his own staff that was in charge of that. Not only was he a law enforcement defensive tactics instructor, but he's also a very good and regular jiu-jitsu practitioner. And so he's trying to step up the game in the agency as far as that goes. And I think it's going really well. And one of the things that he did was he's doing the guy that he basically brought onto his staff is doing these jiu-jitsu seminars open to everyone in the agency. And no joke, that's how I got into it, because I'd wanted to do it forever. And when Dan got this guy in there doing it, it was free, and so I didn't really have any excuse. So I got into it, and so now I go to a gym and I pay for it, and it's all good. But it's just one example of how you have to pick the right people, right? Good people. We talk about People Ideas Hardware a lot, and he got him onto his staff, and Dan's going in there getting choked out by him all the time just to
so check
learn
this
his
out.
learn his own lesson.
Here's a coaching lesson, right? So I go in the room the other day and I said, what are you bitches doing? And that's how my squad works during the day. And they're like, hey, we're doing this and that. I go, all right, well, let's go roll. How cool is that, right?
Yep.
Fucking greatest job in the world. I'm fucking busy as shit, and I tell these guys, hey, you two bitches want to get choked out. I'm telling this to a purple belt, by the way. And so anyway, we go in the gym and we roll around for an hour, and I hadn't been in there for a couple months, and it was awesome because I had the psychological, emotional, physiological test that I needed at that time, as well as a leader. I said to them, hey, you're worth my time to be in this gym to give you a little something. Dude, now today my fucking toe doesn't work, and my fucking arm doesn't work, but what I got out of that was I gave a shit about them.
Yeah.
And so, it's worth it.
Let me jump in real quick on the jiu-jitsu thing, because we talked about this when we talked about me taking the Craig Douglas ECQC course about competition martial arts and how fundamentally they're meant to be fair, one-on-one, and no weapons and stuff like that. And often competition gets knocked by people who, in my opinion, are lazy. And they say, well, that's not reality. That's not what a real fight is like. And then, it's not how a real gunfight goes, so I'm not going to do the USPSA or 3-gun matches or whatever. I can tell by looking at you, you have had a fight or two in your life, and you have had close physical contact with bad people. And given your background, clearly you see some value added in doing the jiu-jitsu and rolling with guys, right? Can you speak to that a little bit, and the comparison between competition and reality?
Dan might not want to talk about the specifics, but I'll tell you for credibility's sake, he's been in at least one shooting. How many shootings?
I've been in 2 as the shooter. Great point, Jim. Well, I will tell you this. What was interesting for me in my law enforcement military careers, it was an abundance of effort towards firearms for many, many, many years until this year, 2018. January of 2018, I get this new defensive tactics instructor that Mike was talking about. Very calm, subtle guy. And I asked him, I said, hey, why do you want to be in my squad? And he told me, he said, hey, I just think there's some shit I can do with what I know with jiu-jitsu that can help you. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, there was a few years ago, I was about 275 pounds. I was way overweight. I was beating the fuck out of anyone that talked shit to me on the streets as a cop. And then I started taking jiu-jitsu, and I haven't used force since. He goes, literally. He goes, I got all these skills, and I don't really need to use them because I'm confident. And I go, that's interesting. So why don't you teach me a little bit about this jiu-jitsu thing? And he said, all right, well, come in the mat room. Let's roll around. This is January. So we go in the mat room. I'm a firearms guy. Now, mind you, at this point, I'm a 12, 13-year veteran, 1,000 operation SWAT guy, multiple shootings. I've seen
kind of a big deal.
Gamut, yeah. And
this mat room smells of rich ball sweat.
Yeah. We get in there, And yeah, dude fucks me up. I mean, in about
It's like,
2
hey, Dan,
seconds.
watch this.
Oh, yeah. By the way, hey, I had been in CrossFit for about 4 years, and I'm not a CrossFit I'm not one of these fucking psycho cult guys. I just
Anymore.
noticed that I had a physical deficiency, and I worked really hard for 4 years, and I was in shape, a big guy. And this dude fucked me up in about 30 seconds. And he made it look like gravy sauce.
He's a beast, dude. I'm telling you. He's
Literally, he pushed over here. I pulled there. He fucking choked me out. I pushed here. He pulled there. He fucking rolled me and fucking arm barred me.
If you guys haven't figured this out yet about Dan, football type, Marine type, not a pushover, as it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of an obnoxious dick.
Yeah.
And,
He's little stubborn, a little hard-headed if it comes to like, oh, we're gonna fight. Like, oh, we're gonna fight. Okay, we're gonna fight. And then you fight a guy like Justin, and you're like, I can't breathe.
So here I am as a coach. So this is the topic we're talking about is coaching, right?
Yeah.
Here I am. I've built this team. I'm at this new AOT job, this in-service training job. I got the whole agency at my disposal. I got the chief telling me, "Hey Dan, I need you to train my officers, less than 800 of them at this point, to do X, Y, and Z." All right, cool, man. I got you, bro. And then I step in the room with this cat, and here's what I realized, Jim. I don't know shit about fighting. I don't know shit about ground skills. I don't know shit about holding on to a suspect. If it's shooting, yeah, great. Fast forward 6 months, 7 months, June, July. I'm in the DT room. I've been training 2-3 times a week with Justin and some of these cats, Mike included, getting my ass whipped.
Same.
Yeah. Just I love the experience. I love the thought process that you got to put into it. I love the physicality. Beautiful. Walking by the room is a SWAT guy who's never done DT. And I say, "Hey, Mondo, you little bitch. Get in here and fucking roll with us," right? And he's like, he does what any good SWAT guy would do. He's like,
Kicks off his shoes.
He's like, all right.
What do I do?
Yeah, and so mind you, this guy's in good shape. He's strong as bull.
He's a football guy too.
Football guy. Yeah, he's super strong. And I'm like, Dan, you fucking bit off more than you could chew, but fuck it, let's roll, And so Mondo comes in, and he's like, "I've never done this jiu-jitsu thing." I was like, "Whatever, bitch, sit down," kind of thing. And he's like laughing.
It's like, what do I do? And you're like,
Yeah.
just try to choke me.
Yeah, so we roll.
Not into that, man.
We're roll, and the first 30 seconds in, he gets me into a guillotine, and I'm on top of him, but he's got me in a guillotine, and he's got me in a really good one, and it's sunk, not quite. Air.
not quite lights out.
Yeah, not quite lights out, but I'm at the moment where I'm like, okay, oh shit. And he's a strong dude, and we fight for 2 minutes. And I said to myself, "You've been here before, and just work your way out of it." So for the next 30 seconds, 45 seconds, I work my way out of it, and I end up moving my elbow up to his jaw, smashing his jaw into the fucking pads, and then basically cause enough pressure to his jaw that he released enough that I could wither my head out and flip him and roll him and get him into another position.
And you didn't even have to meet the wizard. That's good.
No, it's good. Have to meet the wizard.
Oh, the wizard.
Yeah, long story short was the valuable lesson that I learned at that moment as the bell rung and we were done with that round was I could sustain a good fight with a strong dude who I chalked him up as street level criminal in my mind. The reason was he was an operator, strong guy who had very little jiu-jitsu skill, and I had some jiu-jitsu skill, fat guy, little out of shape, old guy, and I could hold my own. So I will tell you, hands down, 100%, I became a believer at that moment.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I could tell you as a guy that I was actually there that day. In fact, something that he and I did that the guy that he's talking about and I rolled for a round, and the same thing happened to him that happened to me. You like crack something in or around a rib that makes you unable to breathe properly.
You regret it for a couple months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah. For approximately the rest of your life.
We call that pulling a Ruth Bader Ginsburg, it turns out.
Yeah. And he did something that day like that, but no, it's absolutely right. I think the thing about the difference between competition and sport, competition and combat in that sense is, in competition, you have a couple of factors that still apply, right? One is the decision making. You have the presence of mind to problem solve. And that goes a long way, as long as you can, in context, realize that this is not points for sweeps or chokes or submissions. This is, life and death. Maybe they got a weapon, and you got to work through that. So I think it goes a long way. But there are several principles that, from what I have seen and from what Jim has told me about Craig's class, several principles there that you have to make sure that you can apply, right? Controlling the limbs, constantly being aware of where the hands are and stuff like that. So
one of the biggest things that I took away from watching Craig's stuff and then doing that fight with Mondo was, don't panic. You're okay.
Yep.
Right.
Constantly reassuring yourself. And I think as a pilot too, the same thing. Let's say you had an engine blown. Don't panic. You're all right, man. And if you go down in this bitch,
so Jim,
don't be a screaming bitch about it.
That's probably a good time to tell you that I pawn off all of our aviation examples to Dan on a regular basis. Nice. So that's Southwest Airlines. She used to be a pilot, and that was actually in one of the trainings at one point. So,
was there Tammy Joe or whatever her name?
Yeah.
One of our jokes about that is, if you know you're going to crash, the best thing you can do is pull down your flight suit and turn around in the seat, just to give the crash investigators something to think about when
what the fuck happened?
The time comes. So, how'd that joystick end up there? I don't know. Well, this is weird.
As I sat there being almost choked out by Mondo, I realized to myself, as a leader, I set an example that I'm willing to go the distance. And two, so even if I got choked out, even if I was unconscious, what did I lose? Absolutely nothing. If I got
some brain cells,
if I got choked completely unconscious, what I gained was millions of dollars.
In medical bills.
It was worth it. Mondo was a believer after that.
Yeah.
Mondo was a believer where he was like, this shit is no joke.
His rib still hurts last I checked.
Yeah. It's like, that fat fucking guy who had no fucking skills worked me, And so I have a theory about law enforcement. 10th Mountain versus Special Forces. It needs to be 5th group. It needs to happen. And
for some listeners, you might have to clarify that analogy, the difference between 10th Mountain and
a conventional law enforcement at one time pre-Ferguson.
Different expectations, maybe?
Yeah. And abilities of what we do and how we do it is changed a lot. My biggest challenge as a coach is, how do we get there? How do we do that? How do we take a cop that's been here since 2000, 2001 and say, hey, dude, you're going to have to no longer be conventional forces, but special forces. How do you do that?
And some people can't. Some people, by virtue of their personality, and it's not that they don't want to. I've seen a lot of very motivated people who just don't have the mental agility or adaptability to shift gears. I had some prior enlisted guys at the Air Force Academy, and we like prior enlisted, right? We want people to know who they're leading and how they're leading, and a lot of them did great, but some of them just couldn't adapt. They couldn't shift gears from enlisted world and rules and values into kind of the more nuanced, weird social officer game. And you could see it. After about a year, when they were still saying, "Well, back in my shop, back on the flight line, and the guy just couldn't shift gears. He couldn't get with the new program. And sometimes you say, "Hey, we appreciate your service. We appreciate what you've done. We need you to go into this closet and count the pencils." Right.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, Jim. This week, we had to say, "Hey, man, that's cool." In 2017, but we're moving, and you're not there, and I think there's some value to. I always tell guys this. I actually said this the other day. When you're no longer relevant, you're irrelevant.
Yep.
That's deep.
Yeah. When it sounds stupid, right? But when you're no longer the person to be like, I want to go to Mike for this. When, as a high-ranking boss, when I say I no longer need to go to Mike for this, for canine stuff, your job's in jeopardy, bro.
Yeah.
Coming for you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
What I need to say as a boss at high-ranking levels is, holy shit, this is where we're at. I need to go to Mike and Dan and Jim.
Yep.
And I need to find the answers to this shit.
So kind of along those lines, if you could sit down every cop in the country for 30 minutes, like what would you tell them? What would your key message be?
I would tell you a couple things. One thing is times have changed. You have to become more attuned to your professional development. And two, this is hard for cops. Citizens really dictate where you're going, and you got to kind of flow with that. You got to kind of be able to flow with where society is going. Police work 9/11 was, we're going to do this. We didn't care about society. Somewhere about 2012, 2014, it was police work is going to become this.
Yeah.
And we missed the mark. We totally missed the mark.
There's a way I describe this to people, and I teach these classes at the academy. And one of the things I usually say at the end of the class is I put up this Fisher Ames quote, and I can't say it from memory, but it's something like, well, the takeaway is with great power comes great responsibility, right? That's the takeaway.
Heavy as the crown.
Right.
Yeah.
And what I try to remind guys of is that, it wasn't that many years ago that the people of this nation decided to overthrow their government because they didn't like what they were doing. And as what is often the most adversarial people in government that most people interact with, you have to be a part of that balance, right? And so you have to balance that security and safety net with the liberty and the freedom that we value as a nation. And so, like, it's just important to keep in perspective that we are in a spot to kind of be that balance, right? In law enforcement, you have to make sure that you embody that as your profession. And so, yeah, you have, like you said, you have to be responsive to the citizens and stuff like that. So, all right. Well, that's all I got. Jim?
Have we talked about scopes?
We haven't talked about scopes
feel
yet,
like we
but I
should
know a
talk about
guy
scopes.
that used to be a sniper. In fact,
Sniper?
I know a guy that was in charge of the snipers for a SWAT team. But I don't know if he's ever looked at a ride-on scope before.
I will tell you, I like their products. I
Yeah?
really do.
Have I showed you the binos I have?
Yeah.
They're pretty badass.
Yeah, I really like, a couple things. I like what they're doing as a product. I like what they're doing as a company.
Yep.
Yep. They're very pro LE, pro vet.
Pretty badass.
Yep. The Brady, the guy that runs the company, he's the owner. He's got a federal law enforcement and a military background. And they also do a military law enforcement public safety discount. So make sure you go check that out. You could also, if you don't qualify for one of those, you use the discount code TACTangents, get 15% off. So check them out and make sure that they know that we sent you.
Dan, I appreciate the opportunity to sit down and learn from you. Obviously, we're weak on sports, and there's a cost to that, which is Mike and I think, are both weak on coaching, and that's a skill we want, and we want to develop in ourselves. And so it's cool to get to just kind of sit down and learn from you. One of my reflections, having just started our interaction, is people talk a good game about leadership, but you can see, talking to Dan, it is part of the fiber of his being that he thinks about leadership and being that good example and setting a good example and being one of the guys and rolling with his guys and ball sweating on his guys. And you get there's a level of respect and a level of rapport that you only get, especially in a tactical team, by doing that. And you don't get it back in a cubicle writing policies. It doesn't happen. Yeah. You don't get it writing computer-based training slides. It just doesn't work that way, right? So I appreciate that, and I think there's a key lesson just right there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate that. Yeah. Some things are earned and ball sweat.
Damn, Skippy.
I'm going to fucking make that shit fucking memorial.
we got some good t-shirt ideas off of this.
Yeah. Some things are just earned in ball sweat.
Yeah.
Love it, dude.
All right, guys, don't forget we put out new episodes on the 1st and the 15th of each month. If you want to reach us, you can email us, info@tacticaltangents.com. Check out our website, and also you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're at TacTangents. And that's all I got. Jim, anything else?
Dan's got a website too, doesn't he?
Dan's got a thing. Yeah, Dan's got a thing you should probably check out.
I got a thing where if you want to just let loose, be cool, hit the dark side.
Not for the faint of heart, by the way.
Filthypirate.org.
Filthypirate.org. We'll put a link.
Lovely ladies.
Going there now.
Drinks. Have a good time.
It's
a little bit different.
It's good. A little bit different. Check it out. All right, guys, that's all we got. Good talk.
Cheers.